Imbokodo uzokufa. Oh yes. Woo! Wathinta imbokodo uzokufa. Wathinta abafazi, wathinta imbokodo uzokufa. Sibambeni maqabane. You know, I'm listening to the story of Umam Kize, Tabana, Joseph, is indeed a stark reminder of the real challenge and challenges indeed that our mothers faced 60 years ago. And they indeed were not deterred by the system of the day. They organized themselves, they were strategic, they were courageous, they were revolutionaries. And I want to implore us this evening to ignite that spirit within each and every one of us and to use that spirit to take this country forward. And move this beautiful nation forward. We have a collective responsibility to do that. And with those few words, it is my privilege to call upon my leader, the chairperson of the African National Congress, Comrade Baleka Mbete, to come and read Incwadi evela kumam Sophie de Brain.
Starting your jive. Thank you, Basitsana. I feel honored to be reading this message from one of our mothers, our leaders, and an icon of South Africa. Treasurer of ANC Women's League, who invited me to tonight's fundraising gala dinner. I apologize to the President, Deputy President, and the leadership of the ANC Women's League, as well as to the membership and to all invited guests who shall be present here this evening. Please accept my sincerest apology. It was my fervent wish to have been with you tonight, and although it is not anything serious, I am implored to rest. As you all know, the Women's March to Pretoria is celebrating its 60th anniversary in August this year. I am sure you too, like myself, feel the emotions of that great, glorious, noble march when 20,000 women descended on the Union buildings so that you daughters and sons of South Africa shall have a brighter and better future in the land of your birth. Our generation and the ones before us laid a solid foundation with sound values of hard work, of commitment, dedication, determination, and a sense of purpose. Examples of respect and integrity, of sensitivity to the plight of those less fortunate amongst us, was all part of it. And the baton was handed over to you by Mam Kowa, Mae Ruth, Mae Francis Bart, Mam Helen Joseph, and all the many heroines who paved the way for where you are today. I represent them, and I speak and plead on their behalf and say to you, leadership of women in the ANC Women's League, do respect and dignify the ANC Women's League in whatever you do and wherever you are. Our organization, the ANC, is going through very difficult times, and we sometimes do not make it any easier for the organization. By our uncouth utterances and behavior, we often appear to be our own worst enemies. Our president do not need women to undress and show their buttocks so that he remains the president. Our president can take care of himself and have done so throughout his term. So refrain from unnecessary vocabulary and ugly behavior. There is so much I can pass on to you tonight in this message, but I shall avoid doing so and spare the moment for the month of August. There are many to dialogue and deliberate over, and we shall have the opportunity to share much for now. I wish you a relaxing and enjoyable evening and a successful fundraising drive. Malibongwe, Mam Sophie.
Siyabonga, Comrade Balekambete. When the elder has spoken, or elders have spoken, you really don't add anything to it. At this time, I invite you to enjoy your starters and indeed use this evening to network, to business and they didn't want to give you that appointment. Make sure you make a beeline for that person. You've been really trying to secure that appointment for the last umpteenth probably years. Tonight is a night of merrymaking, but also let's continue to reflect and remember the reason why we are here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, bon appetit.
To those who have given their lives, praises to thee, husbands and wives, all thy children shall reap what you've sown. This continent is a My brothers and sisters, stand up and sing. Eduardo Montani is not gone. Frelimo, Frelimo, your eternal flame
And inspired to be here tonight. Igama lami nguBerita. I'm gonna play you a couple of tunes. I hope you enjoy. Ndande nomfana omuhle igama lakhe thando lwethu bendimthanda endithanda sasingohlulwa Thank you. The next song is called Phakama Africa. I hope you enjoy.
Ooh.
together, together. Pagama Africa, Pagama, Pagama, Pagama Africa. Ooh. Thank you. Malibonga igama lamakhosikazi. Malibonga igama lamakhosikazi. So the next song that I'm going to play is my last song for the evening. It's a Xhosa song. It's called Sugundi Xesha. Dawuxhensa ngexesha lam. Ixesha libekwe nguThixo. Lixesha lam elo. I hope you enjoy. What it means is, don't rush me. Let me dance in the time that God has set for me to dance. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much. Enjoy the evening.
Okay. Sizani pay chance my photos again. Okay. Sizani vulela for photos. Zahara is in trouble. Zahara is in serious trouble. Awusesikadeni uzahamba ufikile uBerita madoda. Can we just clap for Benita? See the new upcoming. Where are you from, Benita? Can you just tell us about yourself?
Okay. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, Kobulawayo. I moved to the Eastern Cape in 2011 to study at the University of Walter Sisulu University. I graduated 2014 with cum laude. And my album with Uthando Loyetu, the first song I sang, came out 2012 and it went gold. And I also won a Metro FM award for that.
Yo, Benita. No, I'm having 3 boys. 2 of them seba ponile, but I'm still having one outstanding one. Zatata ma address wako. I will introduce you to my son.
Okay.
Is it okay, Benita?
And by the way, I'm in studio working on new music that's coming out this year.
Okay, thank you very much. We have found the tablets. Somebody left her tablets at toilet. If you have lost the tablets, please, can you go to that table, the last table there, up there. I'm not going to say anything when people are talking. I think I'm the only one here who's supposed to say something. Please. I'm in a order pen. Uyabona ngizwa amazwi adeke kakhulu enabo mama lapha. Okay. Before I can call my president, I just want to say these few words. And I quote from Charlotte Maxeke. In the very same meeting that we have last week, our president, Batabile Dlamini, asked us, we know that Charlotte Maxeke, all of us, we know, she was indeed our first president as ANC Women's League. And the question came, where is the grave of Charlotte Maxeke? We are what we are because of her. Kahle kahle ulelepi. Who knows the grave of Charlotte Maxeke? And all of us, we could not say exactly where is Charlotte Maxeke's grave. Omunye wasukuma, no, she's in Eastern Cape. The other one, we could not explain. But all that we know is that we are what we are because Charlotte Maxeke stood for us. But unfortunately, we didn't know where is the grave of Charlotte Maxeke. But we made our task within a week. We managed to get to Charlotte Maxeke's grave is right here in Soweto. And we have also checked Charlotte Maxeke's house, Imani Clip Town. Ladies, what legacy do we want to leave behind? And I think it is our duty to make sure that siyobona kahle ukuthi Charlotte Maxeke ulelephi nokuthi what do we do ngendlu ya Charlotte Maxeke. This is what Charlotte Maxeke said one day. This work is not for yourself. Kill that spirit of self and do not live above your people, but live with them. If you can rise, bring someone with you. If you can rise, bring someone with you. That's why Ummeba Tabile Dlamini said, I must remind you, Gutu Charlotte Maxeke was born on the 7th of March, and on the 7th of March is going to be Charlotte Maxeke's birthday. We are appealing. We are kneeling down. We have so many children that are heading families. Me emun liemu, for the sake of Charlotte Maxeke, on the 7th, Lituli House, Women's League Office, sicela ma sanitary towels for those young girls who cannot do it, who cannot have them. Sicela ama panties. There are so many girls who don't have panties when they're supposed to go to school. Anything that is going to change a young girl's life. Please, on the 7th of March. Halala, Charlotte Maxeke, halala. Me Batabile, my president, I know they know you, we are the president of the ANC Women's League, and I know they know you that you have been the secretary of the ANC Women's League, and I know they know that we let's call you une degree in social work, and I know maybe you are the minister, our president, Meta Batabile Dlamini, kunini sikumele madoda. Halala bata halala. Alibongwe. Kamala makhosikazi. Ikamala makhosikazi ma libongwe. Ikamala makhosikazi ma libongwe. Ma libongwe. Ma libongwe. Ma libongwe. Ma libongwe. Kamala makhosikazi ma libongwe. Ikamala makhosikazi ma libongwe. Ma libongwe. Ma libongwe. Ma libongwe. Ma libongwe. Wathinta abafazi. Wathinta imbokodo. Our program directors, Memantombela and Basetsane, the Deputy President of the African National Congress and the country, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, the National Chairperson of the African National Congress, Comrade Balega Mbete, and the Speaker of the National Assembly, the former Secretary General of the ANC Women's League. Our young and vibrant SG, Mioho, our Treasurer General,
Maite. I've not seen the DSG. Members of the NEC, quickly come, assemble here, greet everyone and go back to your seat. Quickly. Soze asoze aphela amandla elamakhosikazi soze asoze aphela amandla asoze aphela amandla sekumnandi asoze. Thank you very much, comrades. Comrades, I'm going to be very brief. Firstly, when we had our conference in August, amongst the resolutions that were taken was that we must renew, revamp, and revitalize the ANC Women's League. And we had time but if you want to be a good leader, you must think about the steps and the path that your past leaders have traveled. Amongst our leaders, we have Mam Charlotte Maxeke, who was the president of the Bantu Women's League, the forerunner of the ANC Women's League, who was very active, an artist. Sometimes I hear people saying, no, you can't sing in meetings for a long time and what. But what I know is that Africans also express themselves through music. Mam Charlotte Maxeke used music to express herself, went out of the country and worked very hard, studied, and was the first black social scientist, a woman. But also what is outstanding about Mam Charlotte, she was a real woman. She also ensured that her husband also studied. And he got a degree. But also what was outstanding about her, she did not read or study for herself. He was not selfish. There are many churches that she assisted to develop, run a proper organizations, understand the issues of governance, like the Ethiopia, the other church that left John Wesley Church, Indiana, belonged to another church. But also what is important is that she built Wilberforce College, which was amongst the best schools in South Africa. And then, this is a professional. She could be the president of the country at the time, because the person he recruited to the ANC was elected president of the ANC twice, President Mahaban. She had an eye for good leaders in the organization. Now, immediately after 1913, the Boers wanted to introduce the passes for women. But also there was a burning issue of land, because there was a promulgation of the 1913 Land Act. And then there goes Mam Charlotte, forms a delegation of women. They go to Cape Town. But what was outstanding about her is that she never took only sophisticated women. They say amongst the women that went with her to the Cape province were women from the rural areas, from the farming areas, and others. You remember the things that we had when we grew up, the cracks on the hills. Some had that, but she took them with her because she wanted to be inclusive. And what she did was what the ANC was founded on: unity. Unity which is sacrosanct in the ANC. Unity that must be respected by all of us in the ANC. Unity that is not a property of a few. Sometimes when people talk about unity, it's like their own unity. And Minu Babu Heri Gwala taught me that you fight for unity. You don't keep quiet until things get messed up, and then come up and say, I told you. But also, Mam Charlotte believed in women because at all times in the history of the ANC, women have shown commitment. They have a backbone, but also they follow the ANC because they know they stand to benefit in the ANC. But also the ANC has given or gave women hope from 1912 up until now. And that is what we should be carrying, as members of the ANC, hope. So that when I have a tap and 30 kilometers away, they don't have a tap, I must be brave enough to say the tap is also coming to you. Be patient. One other issue that I think is important where we are lacking, and when we had a meeting with Madiba, we got very angry when he raised the issue of non-racialism in the Women's League. We also said, but we are the reflection of the ANC. You look at the leaders that came after Mam Charlotte. The march, 1956. Before the 1956 march, there was another march. And then the face and the character of the march is unity, non-racialism. Because you have Mam Helen Joseph, Anne Sophie, Rahima Musa, Lillian Goy. But one other important thing is that long ago, women in the ANC were able to integrate and accept other women. It was not just African women and their culture only that people thought was important. You look at Rahima Musa, she's wearing a sari and a blouse underneath. And to me, that says a lot about the leadership we had in the ANC Women's League. And that is why we've been saying we need to have our niche that is going to make us different, that is going to take the struggles of women forward. Okay, there is a patriarchy in South Africa, and it's well rooted. At a societal level, organizations, business, law, wherever. Business, some of us have shares, but they don't know the operations in companies. They are just given a lot of money and they get happy and that's it. And with us, South Africa has NDP. The president came up with 9 areas of importance. Well, we must have women in decision-making bodies. But the most important thing that we have to do as women is to look into the 9 areas and say construction, engineering, mechanics, mining, doctors, pilots, a lot of them. Our kids pass with a cum laude, and we think they are us. Tina, when you passed social work, you were like a king in your area. And let's motivate our children to study, to research level, to doctoral level, so that they can invent things for our country. When there is a problem of water, we must be saying, aye, our girls are going to come up with a solution. And in countries where women have prioritized all areas of education, where they have even prioritized sport, those countries are doing very well. And that should be part of our niche. And issues of fighting over nothing, I'm happy we haven't yet fought Mr. Deputy President in the National Executive Committee. 2, young women, Mr. Deputy President, are very enthusiastic. Some of them say to us, hey, we are happy you've created this forum, which is not a green and black, where we don't get an opportunity to speak. Now, we are mothers to young women. They are our comrades. And the conference said to us, make a difference in our country. We've had a number of meetings, dialogues, more than 10. And young women are coming out up in their numbers, and they are prepared to go door to door and campaign so that the ANC wins the elections. And we've agreed, and not quietly, that we're not going to fight over the blouse. They will automatically, just at a certain period, wear the blouse. Because the V, Mampeta said, stands for victory. So there is a sentiment. And green, our land and the minerals; black, our people. So there is a sentiment there. So we are not going to squash you about the blouse. Now, when we had our march on non-racialism, one comrade who works for the ANC and looks very tough, a male comrade, came to me to say, hey, when did you think about this black? And then I said, no, Mantombela, I came with a black, and we could not stop her. And he says, hey, Mama, this is intimidating. So, we are moving forward. And I don't want to lie. There are challenges, issues of violence against women. And also the way our organization is treating the issues of non-racialism and non-sexism. It's like they are not twins. They don't belong together. And we think they belong together. Because as women, we are oppressed as women, as black, as workers. Angit. So we also want to be included in this, because once we are left behind, we will have a problem. We must also congratulate the leadership that was there when our organizations were banned outside and inside the country. I think we saw some of our comrades there. And we said, as the Women's League, women are very dynamic. We'll find a way of celebrating each and every leader of our society that made a difference in the quality of lives of women. What is also important is that a young woman must know that this is hard-won democracy. Don't allow any dictator to come here with a tactics of machoism and talk ill of our leadership. Madiba sold out, and you also keep quiet because you like that red overall. People that are destabilizing the whole country, they go to parliament, they destabilize the house that comes up with laws that govern this country. They disrespect our leadership. And as women, we know that we were put by the ANC where we are today. And once we leave them doing all those things, they will never carry a torch of women's emancipation. Anisisize Comrade Deputy President. Hitler wabulala millions and millions of people. Abantu bengamboni ukuthi konke wrong ngayi. Ingasenzekeli le ndaba bu. Ngibona ngathi sikekela sihambela kuyona. Angeke ekulunge. Thina uma ngabe sikhuliswa nje, indlela okhuluma ngayo ibalekile. And we can't allow abantu abancane kangaka abangazi ngisho istruggle to come and rubbish the sweat and toil of our great grandfathers, of John Dube, of Lillian Ngoyi, of Aida Mtwana, of Helen Joseph. We can never allow that. So let's stand up as women, and at all times when there are difficulties, women stand up. Asingabi amagwala. The generation that made us to be where we are today, the generation of Comrade Balek. Safika lapha enkomfeni uComrade Terra nearly lost his mind when we suggested that we must be represented in the NEC. And then now it's 50% and above. But that is not about us as individuals. It is about women, it is about the country. It's not about the cars we are driving. It's not about the schools we take our kids to. It's not about material. All that is part of the package. But what is important is that every day, when you are a leader of the ANC, you must ask yourself a question: what have I done today to ensure that I contribute towards improving the quality of lives of the people? Mr. Deputy President, we are trying to come up with 10 no-go areas for men. and we are serious about that. They are going to be no-go areas. The example, femicide, we will ensure that you are arrested and you are kept in jail up until you die. We are tired of people who say they love us, but they kill us. And this cannot happen during this era when there is democracy. It can never happen when there is legislation that has been put in place to ensure that women feel safe. It can never. I'm not going to say all of them. We are going to launch them. Eliminating unequal power relations. Respect the bodily integrity of women as outlined in our Constitution. Full control over our sexuality also means we have a right to insist on safe sex under all circumstances. Fathers who are absent, who do not maintain their children, oh lolo. So, we want to say to all our friends, at the beginning we thought we were going to introduce ourselves to you. But UTG said, don't do that. By the time you want to do fundraising, they will be tired. And the ANC would have raised funds for the election. Let's have one dinner, talk to business, and they must see that we are serious, and so that if they put whatever support into the Women's League, they must not be afraid. This is who we are. And if you think there is anything wrong we are doing, we are open for correction. We are human beings. There is a tony nyana issue. That thing that we want. But it was said that we must talk about it when the time comes. Now, the last time I agreed to have an interview on this was when they said, but there is a procedure in the ANC. You know what happens? Huh? I said, no, these people want the ANC to expel me now. And then I came up with a long story of Comrade Cyril being a leader of the ANC and was able to bring together comrades from outside the country, was part of the Release Mandela campaign, and he is an astute cadre of the movement. He led the constitution-making process, and he worked very hard for the African National Congress. And also, he has never demanded anything from the movement. He's here because we said he must come back and take his place. So don't create a rift between our deputy president and the women of South Africa. Comrade Deputy President, we know that you were very instrumental when the structures of the organization were built inside the country. And we know that there were times when our women fought very hard for salary. I remember babeholo 2,000 and the leadership ingatayikhola about 20,000. So you ensured that the salaries were equalized. But also during your time, we had strong structures, we had transport, and during the elections, you tried to involve us. I remember when I wrote a letter talking about the money that was donated by some country. And then I wrote that down and sent that to provinces. And then you called me with Comrade Geraldine to say, Haibo, what are you doing now? And then I said, but this is what you said. And you said, no, we were briefing you. You don't have to put that in the memo to provinces. And those were times, comrades, when the leadership was not afraid to call you instantly and correct you in a very human way. And so we are also called upon to respect our organization, because the leadership that has been there before us has always put the ANC before everything. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy President. I would like to invite you to come and talk to us.
Asnavalo sisebenza. Asnavalo aliyadalo. Asnav. It's okay, leave it there. Amandla. Viva ANC Women's League. Viva. Viva ANC. Viva. Program Director, the President of the ANC Women's League, Comrade Matabile Dlamini, the officials of the ANC Women's League who are here, the National Chairperson of the African National Congress, members of the executive of the ANC Women's League, members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, leaders of the Alliance, Your Excellencies, ambassadors of various countries who have honored the ANC Women's League with your presence here. We thank you for being here. Veterans of our movement who are here, comrades, and ladies and gentlemen. When Comrade Batabile spoke about this blouse, this V, she reminds me of a conversation that I had with the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC before the ANC Women's League conference. I said to Comrade Jesse, you know, I have decided that I'd like to run for president of the Women's League. And Comrade Jesse thought, well, that's an interesting idea. And then the following day, she came back to me. She said, you know, I've discussed this with some of the comrades in the Women's League. And they say they want to know your bra size. So I was in some difficulties because I don't know my bra size. So I asked the TG, because he's a medical doctor, I said, you know, much as I'm a doctor by marriage, having married a doctor, I think you should measure my bra size. And he said, DP, I'm not going to go there. So the reason I'm not president of the Women's League today is because I don't have a bra size. So dismiss it for that. It's a real honor, a great honor indeed, to have been given this privilege of addressing this dinner this evening. In fact, I am a stand-in because the president was supposed to address this dinner. Some of you would have seen me walk out. I was taking a call from the president, who is still literally stuck in Burundi, because after fulfilling their mission with a number of his other brothers, other heads of government and state, he went to the airport and sought to get into his plane in Kwazi, and it would not move. So he's stuck there, and he can't come back home until possibly tomorrow. They might have to send another plane to go and fetch him. So now you are stuck with me. He was supposed to be here, but he sends his apologies. I told him that the Women's League dinner is going ahead. It's glittering. It's lovely. And the women look absolutely beautiful. And he was sad that he's going to miss out on observing the beauty. And truth be told, when the president of the Women's League came to meet me and the national chairperson in the holding room, I immediately told her that, you know, Comrade President, you look truly, truly beautiful. And that dress really just stands out, and she is really beautiful. Comrades, as we all know, this year marks the 60th year of the anniversary of the Women's March on the Union buildings. In many ways, this was a most defining moment, not only in terms of the history of women in our struggle and in our country, but it was a defining moment of our struggle. And that is why that day stands out as the most important day, because we remember how the women of our country, the mothers, grandmothers, the aunts, the sisters, and the daughters of this country decided to stand up and say, no more. We are not going to accept oppression in the way that it is being meted out to us. It sent a clear message to the apartheid rulers that the women of South Africa would not yield to discrimination and to oppression. It sent a very clear message to the then Prime Minister, Stradom, who I'm told, on seeing the multitudes of women who were approaching the Union buildings. And I think those who will write history books later will be able to say they were not 20,000. They were far more than 20,000. They ran into thousands and thousands, and these were determined women who had decided that they had had enough. and that they would not be passive victims of an exploitative system of racial subjugation, and that they would not succumb to gender discrimination, and that they would stand up and fight class exploitation. It was they who said, "Watinta bafazi, watinta imbokodo, and basop uzakufa." Now, those women have left us a legacy, a very proud legacy, and we in the ANC are proud to know and to see that the Women's League, the ANC Women's League, has fully embraced that legacy, because it is our legacy as a people, as a movement, but principally it is the legacy of the women of South Africa. In this historic year, we celebrate the achievements of women of South Africa, and we salute the remarkable contribution that the ANC Women's League has made to the struggle for democracy, equality, and justice in our country. And you, as members of the ANC Women's League, we dip our heads, we take off our hats, because you are the inheritors of that legacy, and we thank you for the contribution that you have made and continue to make to our struggle. We recall those heroic women who were prepared to challenge not only the might of the apartheid state, but also the patriarchal attitudes that once prevailed within our movement and still prevail within our society. You are right, Comrade Batabile Dlamini, when you raise the issue of patriarchy. It still prevails, and it is a practice and indeed an evil that we must join hands together to fight. Men and women have to join hands to fight this evil, because we must rid our country of this sickness of patriarchy. Working together, we shall. As we mark this historic occasion, we need to reflect on the work we must still undertake to realize the vision of a society that is democratic, a society that is non-racial, non-sexist, united and prosperous. We need to reflect on the work we must still do and undertake to liberate the black women of our country from the burden of triple oppression. Their oppression as women, their oppression as black women, and their oppression as working class people. We must focus all our efforts on the work we still need to do to empower the women of our country, to empower them in a multiplicity of ways, to empower them politically. And fortunately, in this regard, within the African National Congress, we have succeeded a great deal. And I think in this regard, Comrade Batabile, we have to be grateful for the gigantic leaders of our movement like Comrade O.R. Tambo, who led the charge during the years of Benning to empower women within our movement. We need to remember the work that he continued to do to raise the level of consciousness within the ANC, and succeed he did. The victory that we all scored in July, was it December 1991, at the 48th conference, when the ANC finally agreed that women must be represented seriously in the structures of the movement was due to what Comrade OR did. Even as Tera Lekota stood up in the conference and spoke against this, in the end, the women of the ANC triumphed. You triumphed, and we must remember that it was an important milestone. The other milestone, of course, was when we finally achieved the 50-50 representation. That was a revolution, and we thank you for having led that revolution. The women of our country still need to be empowered socially, culturally, and more importantly, economically as well. Now, this is an effort that the ANC Women's League is leading. But we need to empower and strengthen the ANC Women's League to continue leading the charge in this regard. It is also the responsibility of the African National Congress itself. It is also the responsibility of the alliance, of the broad democratic movement, and all of society to make sure that the women of South Africa are empowered in all respects so that they take their place where they can make a meaningful contribution to the future of our country. In the end, this nation will not be free until the women of our country are also free. And we wish to commend the ANC Women's League for establishing a Young Women's Desk. We commend you for that. When I heard about it over the news as you had taken the decision, I immediately said to myself, this is one of the smartest moves that you have ever made. That was a smart move. It is the view of the ANC itself that this initiative was long overdue. And we are pleased that you have made this move, because the young women of our country have long sought for a forum, a home, or an entity to belong to. And you have created it now. You have created it, and they will come in all manner of ways. They will come as either university students, young women, and working women, and they are there. We meet them all the time. They want to be part of this movement. And you have opened a channel that they are going to come through. You wait and see. They will be coming in their thousands because they embrace the values that the ANC Women's League stands for. Thank you very much for doing this. What it will also do, it will enable the young women of our country to be active participants in social dialogue. It will engage them to raise their own level of consciousness, not only about being women of our country, but also about their own country and the contribution that they will be able to make in getting this country to move forward. You will also have an opportunity to tell them the stories of Charlotte Maxeke. You will also have the opportunity to tell them about Helen Joseph, Lillian Goy, Masisulu, and many, many others. These are stories that are waiting to be told. The people of our country need to hear these stories. The better if they are told to the young women of our country first, and they are related as time goes on. It was a joy looking at the video and looking at Mam Kize, telling the stories of our history from the 50s, relating precisely the struggle that was being fought by women in those days, listening to Helen Joseph and many others. These young women are ambitious. They are the leaders of tomorrow. They are the engineers. They are the doctors, the teachers, yes, the pilots, the builders, the construction workers of tomorrow. They are the managing directors of tomorrow. They are the CEOs of tomorrow. They are the future of this country. They are the future of this country. But they are also among those who still face the greatest challenges. They are most likely to be unemployed. They are also most likely to be at risk of becoming infected with HIV. They are most at risk from sexual violence. Many years from now, we will look back at the establishment of the Young Women's Desk as a seminal moment in the history of our country. Central to the liberation of South Africa's women is the achievement of economic empowerment. Women are underrepresented across the economy. And when we say women have borne the triple burden of being oppressed and being exploited, this is where it has had its harshest impact. On average, women earn less than their male counterparts. Thank you for paying the compliment that when we realized that they were getting 2,000, we lifted the wage a little bit. It didn't go to 20,000, Comrade Batabil. Right up till the moment we went to Parliament, Comrade Madiba was also earning 4,000 rand, as I was, as many of us were. We only started seeing the 20,000 rands much later. I will not say when we went to Parliament, but much later. For companies, this means that a significant pool of potential talent is being neglected by paying women much less than what they pay men. For the economy, this means that growth is stifled by an inefficient use of human capital. For women, this means that social and economic marginalization persists. In South Africa, the economic exclusion of women has taken place alongside the systemic exclusion or systematic exclusion of black people from playing an important role in the economy of our country. This provides us with an opportunity to address both aspects of the same historical legacy. We need, ladies and gentlemen and comrades, to ensure that women become an essential and equal part of the economic mainstream of our country. This we need to have in our heads so that whatever we do, we must have it in the front, in the middle, and at the back of our minds, that our mission must be to ensure that women do play a critical and central role in the economic mainstream of our country. Once we have that in our mind, the rest then becomes a lot easier. More than that, we need to make sure that women, but particularly black women, become leaders in the economy as well. If women are to be leaders, women also need to be owners and not to be onlookers. and not to be bystanders, and not to be fellow travelers. They must become owners of the means of production. There is little data available about the levels of women ownership in the economy, but anecdotal evidence suggests that it lags behind that of men. We don't have the evidence, but we can all guess that when it comes to ownership stakes, women are always relegated to the back. And if economic empowerment and radical economic transformation is going to mean anything to the people of our country, then it must involve women. Then they must play a critical and central part in that whole transformation process. Women in general have less access to capital than men. When men go to banks, the bank managers sit up, but when women go to banks, they slouch in their seats, meaning that there is no full recognition for the role that women play. And it is therefore critical that we find mechanisms to ensure that women have access to the resources necessary to become owners. And this needs to be done in a rather special way, remembering and bearing in mind the burden that women carry in the life of our country. Firstly, they have the triple burden of oppression and exploitation, but they also have another burden, the burden, and I guess the joy, but more the burden of being the mothers of the nation, something we must never forget. We have helped to address asset poverty in our country. I had a meeting with the Ndatele Hosha, the statistical general, and he said the success we have achieved in the modern era is phenomenal. And he said to have halved poverty in such a short space of time is absolutely phenomenal. We have achieved that. And that has been achieved, and the impact that it has had on women is also quite huge. And this has been done through the provision, yes, of grants, yes, of housing, yes, of redistribution of land, yes, of the electrification process, and that has increased the assets of our people in a number of ways, but that has also halved poverty. Now, what we need is to use initiatives like our Black Industrialist Program to identify and support women who will lead the growth and the development of our economy. Now, this is an important one, and it is a key challenge to the women of our country. The government has come up with this outstanding Industrialist Development Program. And this Black Industrialist Program must not be the reserve of men. It must be a program that is also going to identify women and make them the true industrialists of our country. We will be proud when women become leading industrialists of our country. So many of us would like to see women being active participants in this program and being true industrialists. That is the challenge that goes out to the women of our country, that the government having come up with this program, we invite the women of our country to put their best foot forward, to come forward like the women of 1956, to come forward and say with a very strong voice that this Black Industrialist Program is our program. We want to play a role in this program. And if they were to do that, they will find a government that is very supportive, a government that is willing to assist as much as possible, and a government that is ready, very ready to see the success of women in our economy. If we are to succeed, we need to accept that equity means nothing less than 50-50. If we are to succeed as a nation, we need to unlock the energy that all our people have, but more particularly the energy that the women of our country have, to unlock that energy so that they can play a critical role in the economy of their country. It reminds me of Vali Musa's visit when he was Minister of Local Government before it became COCTA. He tells the story that he went to a town in the northern province, a small town, and he kept going around visiting the various towns, meeting the councillors and so forth. He comes back and he says, "Broer, I went to this town, and there are 11 councillors in the municipality." And he says, "You know, 9 of them are women, 2 are men." And he says the men are really oppressed in that town. In fact, what we should be saying, we even want to see that equity should mean nothing less than 50-50 or even more than 50 in favor of women. We have to achieve gender parity throughout the economy and in all political and social institutions. Our hope will not be displaced in expecting the Young Women's Desk of the Women's League to infuse urgency and militancy in pursuing these objectives. It becomes difficult for all of us to justify that less than a fifth of top managers in business are women. Less than a tenth are black women. Despite some progress since 1994, there is a glaring gap in the representation of women in the corporate sector. We need to implement our employment equity policies more deliberately and more diligently. We must challenge the private sector to do more. They need to deliberately seek out young black women professionals. They must give them responsibilities and fast-track their development so that they can play a key role in the development of our economy. For women to succeed in the economy, there also needs to be both a change in social expectations and intra-family relations, and an understanding that men are parents as well. It's not just women who are parents. Policies and practices and attitudes in the workplace need to accommodate the possibility of shared parenthood. Tomorrow's leaders are being groomed in preschool. And I say this advisedly because the president of the ANC Women's League, in her day job as a Minister of Social Development, is in charge of our preschool education process. And education is central to the empowerment of women, but this must start at a very early age. Women are most successful in countries where there is a high female enrollment in schools as well as universities. There needs to be an emphasis on early childhood development, which is where the foundation is laid for future development. Girls need to be encouraged to engage in activities that promote cognitive as well as spatial development. Every effort needs to be made to keep female students in school at all costs. There needs to be effective career guidance, mentoring, and support to young girls and young women. In summary, if we want to secure the future for the young women of this country, particularly those women, Comrade President, that you are going to be bringing into the ANC Young Women's Desk, we need to give women a stake in the economy, develop funding models to enable them to play a critical role in the economy of our country as owners, relentlessly pursue employment equity, tackle the subtle ways in which women are excluded, because they are often excluded through a variety of subtle ways. We should challenge social expectations around women's domestic role. We must focus, as I said, on the education of the girl child. We have achieved much. Women have also achieved much. But the road ahead is still long, and a lot more needs to be achieved still. And as we ponder those 10, whatever you call them, those 10 non-negotiables and all those things that will send men to jail, we should know that we all have a big task. And the task does not belong to women alone. The Director General of Department of International Relations came to me and said, Comrade DP, you must never think that you are alone here as a man. There are many of us. Yes, we all have a collective task. The task of empowering women in our country cannot be borne by women alone. All of us must make sure that we play our part. Your presence here this evening tells us that you are firmly committed to walk this road along with us. All of you who are here, whether you are members of the ANC Women's League, whether you are a potential funder, whether you have bought a table, today your presence here means that you are supporting the ANC Women's League cause. And as you support it, we want you to dig deep into your pockets. We want you to demonstrate your total support for the cause of women in our country. You have already seen how deadly serious the Women's League is. It is so serious that those of us who will walk on the wrong side of the road will end up in jail. It is so serious to empower young women. It is championing the cause of women more broadly. I think there isn't a better cause to support than the cause that is being championed by the ANC Women's League. Let us support them. Let us encourage them. Let us walk side by side with them to make sure that the ideals, the aspirations, and the vision that the ANC Women's League stands for is achieved. They can achieve the goals, the objectives that they have of non-sexism, total non-sexism, non-racialism, if we stand behind them. This is the time for us as men to stand behind our women. This is the time for all those who have some money in their pocket to stand behind a wonderful cause that is worthy of supporting. Let us give money tonight to this ANC Women's League because it is doing the right thing. Let us support them. Thank you very much.
Wow. Firstly, let me acknowledge my president of the ANC Women's League, her speech. Ma, your speech was authentic, it was honest, it was candid, unscripted, resonated, I think, with this house this evening. And indeed, I call myself a very proud member of the ANC Women's League. After 35, I'm going to kick you out of Youth League. And then we'll say, I'm a member in good standing, I have to add. And Uma and I, we often talk about Linda Bayesh, shirt, your blouse. And when you said that, I knew good. Oh, that's okay. But let me encourage the young women in the room this evening that I often even say this to my friends: don't stand on the sidelines.